Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to. She is a literal scholar, and I'm gonna bumble it up, but it's a physician assistant and a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu blue belt. She is the one and only Atlanta-based Lakeshia Williams.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, and I automatically feel. Usually, I feel like the less kind of educated person in the room, but no more so than today, Mademoiselle.
No.
So, how are you? You're out in Georgia. It seems to be a bright and shiny day. I can't believe I quoted that song, but that's what we're going.
Well, I'm good. I'm blessed, and the record is not bright and shiny today. It's actually cold and gloomy, but I'm still blessed, and I'm glad to be here. So, and my day is going well so far. Can't complain. So.
That's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I guess a definite acknowledgement for putting this whole thing together goes out to one Gary Brown, because he essentially kind of put us in tow. So shout out to Gary.
Gary Brown for sure.
Absolutely. So, Lakeshia, there's so much to unpack here, and there's so much that you've accomplished in a young life. So, how did it begin? And especially like the cardiac, the interest in cardiology, like how did that happen?
Yes. Well, that happened actually several years ago. I started out in my journey as a young lady around 20 or so. I wanted to go into medicine. I always knew that cardiac surgery, was going to be my love, but, life changes. Sometimes things happen. I end up having my daughter. And so I paused for a second, rerouted my life, experienced other things in life. And then I realized that I still wanted to go into medicine. Undergrad, we began studying the heart, and I realized, okay, this is the organ that I love. It was just so many things about it I was fascinated with, and all the way up through my master's and up into PA school and doing several rotations, I still knew that, okay, this was my thing. This is what I feel like I can really do very well, and I'm passionate about it, and still am. So, and I've been going from there. I think around 2012, I graduated with my master's in physician assistant studies and went into cardiac surgery around 6 years ago here in Atlanta. Now, for the record, my hometown is Hopkinsville, Kentucky. So I was born and raised in Kentucky. I moved here to Tennessee 6 years ago. So I've been living here ever since because of the job.
I think that's absolutely brilliant, and pardon the pun, but it tugs at my heartstrings in terms of your interest in all things cardio.
Yeah.
Because my dad, who it's actually his birthday today, January 9th, but he passed away Christmas of 2010 of a massive heart attack, and had I think two of them before I was even out of grade school. Did have another one for another, almost 20 years, but that ended up being, his untimely demise, right? So, what was it about the heart, especially the heart, of all of the organs in the body, that drew your interest?
Well, for that reason only, a lot of people are dying of heart attacks. It's not the most common cause of death, in the world, but it's up there in the top 5% of one of the most common causes of death. And then on top of that, if you look at the heart is the pump. The heart is the pump. It circulates all organs. I really wanted to get involved into all organs. So I figured that if I study the heart, which supplies blood to all the organs, it would automatically put me into that specialty where I can kind of study and help and assist with the other organs. Because if you think about it, when you have a heart attack, that circulation halts. So then you have, brain issues, you have stroke, you have kidney issues, your kidney shut down, your bladder shut down. A lot of people don't realize what a heart attack can do. That's why people die. So, we get a lot of these patients that come in with other comorbidities, because of a heart attack or they're already diabetic or they're already have a history of stroke. We have to look at the whole picture, to be able to effectively treat them appropriately. Sometimes surgery may not be the answer, but when it is, that's when we get involved. That's when I get involved. So, as far as one who studies the brain, neurology was also, a consideration, but the brain is very important, but it's just the brain, you can actually, you can have the brain functioning, but it's really the heart that keeps the body alive. So I was just fascinated by that. It was more challenging. I'm always about a challenge, obviously, so, there you have it. And I've been very fulfilled, and, I'm happy about my choice. I can't complain.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. I thank you for the work that you've done so far. And Nate Wren says that has to be one stressful and demanding career. And especially, juggling, the role of being a mother, moving from your native Kentucky to Georgia, all things can be stressful. And then you basically take on this, but it's a labor of love. Yes.
Correct. That is absolutely correct. It is a labor of love. And I'm the person that I don't pick on any task if I'm not passionate about it. I have to feel some type of way about it for me to pursue it. I'm always about a challenge, and also if I feel like it'll make a difference in somebody's life, as well. So this is my thing here. One of my things. Jiu Jitsu is another, but I know we're going to that shortly.
Yeah, well, I guess this would be the good jumping off point, because and then jiu-jitsu, because again, as somebody who studies the body, especially a particular part that is essentially the nucleus of a human being, right? And then you get into something that, you are unceremoniously, maneuvering people, contorting people again, in unceremonious of ways. Nobody, sometimes your arm or leg isn't meant to bend like that, but you do it. So how does this come about?
Well, it came about, okay, I'll tell you, as a kid, I was a tomboy. If I say that I love to fight, I don't mean it in terms of aggression and violence. I loved people. I still love people, obviously. But, I love martial arts, period. Bruce Lee was my absolute idol. My grandmother bought me all types of karate suits. They were pajamas, but you can tell me that. I would wear them outside, Enter the Dragon, all of it. I always wanted to get involved in some type of martial art as a kid. So, going through my life, getting older, having a kid, I realized it never left me. And it was during the time of my life, that, you mentioned stress a while ago as far as my job. My job was very stressful, and what does stress do? You get the cortisol, you start putting on the weight, I was very happy in my new career. However, I was really tired and I was out of shape, because of the hours I put in. So, that didn't work well with me. I was always, very athletic as a kid. I didn't do a lot of stuff, but I was always active and I loved the sports. So I'm like, I got to do something. So I just so happened to be on the UFC website. It was a UFC gym right across the street. I was trying to learn my environment, and jiu-jitsu just happened to burn the most calories. I was like, okay, it's jiu-jitsu, it's martial arts, it burns the most calories. Maybe I can lose weight, win-win. So, obviously it wasn't as simple as that. It was more complicated, but in a good way. So, but I was intimidated, I'm like, I don't know anything about this. These people are doing weird stuff. When I finally joined the gym, I took the kickboxing, but I would see some of the things they were doing. I think during that time that UFC had a cage, or they were in the process of building the back room, but I would see a lot of these weird movements they were doing. And I couldn't focus on my kickboxing classes for kind of side-eyeing, it was confusing, intimidated, but it intrigued me. So finally I got the will up to take a class. It was with my now coach, Denise Houle. She's my coach and personal trainer, even to this day. I drug my daughter in with me because I didn't want to go by myself. So we took my first class together. it wasn't bad at all. But ever since then, I've been going. You know, I was hooked, and I think it was a little bit different for me for the fact that I felt like not only did it hit on a spot that I was always longing for as a kid, as far as fulfilling my martial arts dream. I just always wanted to be just, you know, badass. I'm sorry if I
No, that's absolutely it.
in public, but I've always wanted to be in martial arts, and I just felt that, and the environment was just different. I mean, it was different. It was very warm and welcoming, and I knew, okay, I'm going to start coming here. Yeah, I'm going to start coming here. So, you know, it's been going ever since. Yeah,
I absolutely love it. But the one thing that I wonder, because you essentially were, you know, admiring Bruce Lee, and he was essentially in a striking discipline. I mean,
yes.
Moreover, obviously, he was one of the ones on a large scale
Yes.
to incorporate both striking and grappling. Training under the great judo Gene LaBelle here in California while he was here. But I mean, when I started jiu-jitsu, I know when I would basically have my gi in my bag, and you know, some of my gi kind of falls out and everything, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing that Jiu Jitsu," and start doing karate chops and what have you.
Yes, but see, I didn't. It wasn't just Bruce Lee; it was the Karate Kid. It was. You know, I think what really attracted me, I didn't really know at the time what it was, but I think the discipline of it, I felt like all these people were special. They had a discipline, and they always had a sensei or a master or somebody that was dedicated to training them. You know, I didn't realize at a young age I was really attracted to the discipline, you know, the disciplinary, you know, structure that they had. It led them to perfection, and I didn't know what that meant. I just know that they had that one person that trained them, and then they were good. But I think during this point, I didn't really know what jiu-jitsu was. All I know is they had something that looked like a karate suit, and they had a belt that tied like a karate suit. I didn't know what a gi was. I didn't know, you know, if they were striking or not. I just know they had a belt that tied like it did when I was a kid, and it was a martial arts. But when I got into it, I realized it wasn't, but it did make a difference. And then I've kind of grown to really respect and love, you know, the art of jiu-jitsu, because I realize it's more complicated than I feel like. Now, not to discredit karate or any other, you know, martial arts that involve striking, but to me, jiu-jitsu was just confusing. It was confusing. It was like complicated. It didn't make sense. It's like, why? But then at the end, it made sense. And that just kind of tapped into a part of me, a challenging part of me that attracted me. I love the challenge. I love the fact that I was confused, discombobulated, because in my mind, okay, I'm going to figure this out. You know, I'm going to get this. So it kept me going, but at the same time, it got me in shape. So, I mean, it was perfect. You know, it was perfect. So I am a jiu-jitsu addict, you know, and, you know, what can I say? You know?
Yeah, no, and it's something you get bitten, and it's a weird one, like post 2020, going into 21, talking about bugs and whatever. But I mean, the bug does bite you. It's absolutely true. And, now, Bruce Wallace and Hey Keisha, and somebody very, very. Yes, absolutely. Shout out to Bruce, and then hey Mom.
Hey.
So, and again, for you guys that don't know, if you go ahead and comment, we can bring it right here on screen. So if you've got any questions, you know, there it is. But so you went in with your daughter. Obviously, she's in the chat right now.
Yes.
But at what point? I mean, does your daughter look at you and go like, I'm not doing this, or you're like, is that what happened?
Well, it's not her thing, you know, and I don't, I mean, I've tried everything from bribing to threatening to being a grappling dummy to just, now I was able to get her back into a couple of classes. I bought her a key, and, you know, I don't, you know, expect for her to do everything I can, you know, do as far as that. But I mean, I really think she has potential, you know, and I think all moms think their kid has potential because they had them, but you know, it's not her thing at this point. I'm still working on that. However, she has other interests, and I respect that. So, and with me, and if she's able and she's not working, she comes to all of my competition. So, I can't ask for more. Can't ask for more. So
I think that's absolutely brilliant. And again, I kind of
excellent support. And if I don't go to any of my classes, which is very rare, if I skip a day, you're not going to jiu-jitsu, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm going. I just overslept. She's like, okay, so that's good. That's good enough for me.
Yes, absolutely, and it's that accountability. But and again, sometimes it doesn't happen. I mean, my dad was a musician. That's kind of him there. I didn't get any of that musical acumen at all, and even just to learn and sit down. Like, I've got a bass and a guitar off camera here, but I just like sitting down. Like, I just want to be like, I don't know, like Pete Townsend and do the windmill and look cool. That's my gimmick. Like,
right. But sometimes we don't do, we don't pick up everything that, our parents, want us to. But, I think she's gotten all the stuff that matters from me, and I appreciate that. Speaking of music, I mean, I grew up loving music. I grew up playing different instruments by ear. That was also, a hobby of something that I, tried to pursue. But I got very, very busy. I do have a guitar back there, but she also loves music, and that's something that she picked up from me. I can't force her to do everything that I do, because she is her own individual. But, the fact that she's exploring her own life, you can only be supportive. They're not your clones, they're their own individual people, and you have to respect that. So I'm just blessed that she's the person that she is, and I'm thankful that she supports me, and I'm thankful that she supports my jiu-jitsu. So there you go.
Yes, because you don't always get them in all the same accord.
Yes, because she can criticize me and talk bad and all of that and make me feel bad, but she doesn't. She encourages me. And I'm really she's really intelligent. She encourages me. I ask for her advice sometimes, and she makes me feel like I can do it. Like when I'm doubting myself about a competition, or I'm doubting, she kind of brings me back to earth. If I get a little big-headed, she quickly brings me back to earth, but, I'm thankful for her.
Absolutely. And Carol Barnwell says she proposes a competition reality show. Really? And then again, that's her pitch. You know what? We're gonna explore that, Carol. I'm just saying.
Carol Barnwell. She's mad.
That's absolutely brilliant. And then, hey, baby, I love you. There's your mom.
Hey, Mom, love you too. Well, obviously, I got a lot of support, so that makes it easy for me to do what I have to do and have the discipline. Because when you have people behind you, a good support structure, I'm human. I have those days where I feel like I'm doing too much. Why am I doing this? Why? But it takes people like my aunt, my mom, my daughter, my stepfather, whatever, to tell me you can do this because you can, or you can do this because you're built to do this, and so without any of them, it wouldn't have been as easy for me to do. It's not easy, but it could have been way more difficult. So I'm thankful for that support structure for sure.
Absolutely. And I mean, one thing that I picked up, like right in the chat, right? You're a strong female. Your daughter is a strong female. Your aunt is a strong female. Your mom is a strong female. So there's a theme that is coming down the pipeline in the genealogy.
I come from a stock of strong women. There you go. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think, I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
That is correct.
Now, your Aunt Carol says, ask her why she wakes the whole house up to do virtual defense classes. So what's that about? What's the haps on that?
If I'm in the best shape of my life and I feel good, I'm healthy. I mean, of course I want to share the love, So I'm like, I've read a long time ago, the difference between arrogance and confidence. Arrogance is I can do it and you can't. Confidence is I can do it and you can too. So I try to exude the confidence, and I try to, when my family uplifts me, I want to share that, I want to share that. So when you start complaining about, your backaches or your headaches or, this and that or whatever, I'm like, okay, that's okay. I think they try to tap into the medical side of me, and say, hey, what medicine can fix this? But see, I'm like, okay, well, let's come back here on these mats, let's do this defense class. This may help that too, So, I mean, there it is. I love my family, and I just want them to be in the best shape possible. And this is coming from not only, experience from what being very active, being an athlete did for me, but also, I am a medical provider, so I know the importance of taking care of yourself. So, I mean, they have it twofold. I mean, they're going to get it from both ends. So there it is. You can't run. You can't escape it,
Damn. Yes. And Bruce said, hey, Lisa. And then we got Tony. Hello, beautiful. Tony here. Love this. Shout out to Tony and Bruce.
Yes. Then my family loves me, and I love them. I love them more. There you go.
I absolutely love that. So, I mean, you're in class. You're in class with your daughter. She's not really feeling it. But then, I mean, obviously you get bit by the bug. At that point, did you know that you possibly wanted to compete, or was it just learning the art, learning the skill set to kind of, and again, in a, high stress, high tension occupation, to have some sort of an outlet, and especially one of a physical sort, the last gym that I trained at was in Pasadena, California, and we had people from, JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, that would send stuff into the moon, and so stressful and whatever. And man, you would hear them hit that bag, and it was just like the hark of angels. It was a chorus of angels because they were basically emitting it. So, did you know like where you wanted to go? I mean, was it just like a way of an outlet for you, or were you interested pretty early on, like in pursuing what this means?
Well, I knew right away. I think it was the first or second class I wanted to compete. I didn't know that there was competition involved. Because like I said, I only knew so much, about it based off what the ad provided during the time without me taking any classes. So, I remember taking one of Professor Denise's class, and then there were like a line of women, that were gathered up. I think one of them was like Juanita Huey. She's one of my teammates, and then there was Diane, and these are women close to my age, and they were all lined up, and they were like, she's, giving this speech. They're going to be competing soon, and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whoa, like, they're badass. They're going to compete. And I was always competitive as a kid. I was always competitive. So if you mention anything about seeing who can do it best, I was all about it. Now, I didn't know anything about Jiu Jitsu, but I just knew whatever it was that they were competing against, I wanted to be involved too. And I remember telling them, I was like, okay, I don't know what they're doing, but I want to compete. It just sounded cool because again, if you think about it, going back to those idols, that I idolize, like as far as the Karate Kid and then, Bruce Lee with I always wanted the sense of training for something big or training for a competition. It may seem minor now. Of course, it grew leaves and roots and turned into something else better than that then, but I felt like this was it, this was it. This was perfect. So when she said that, I knew right away. I'm like, man, I was so jealous, not in a bad way, but I was happy for them. But I'm like, this is what I want to do. So immediately, whatever class that was, second, third, I'm like, okay, I just need to do what I need to do so I can be good enough to compete. I just want to compete, and I did. Maybe 5 or 6 months later, after that first day, I did my first Naga competition. So I did. And I've been going ever since. Win or lose, whatever. I've been going ever since. So.
And I love that you mentioned Naga because before kind of COVID happened, I essentially was able to gather the funds. I go in waves, right? Where like I'll train furiously like 5 to 7 times a week, for like 6 months and then not do anything for 2 years and then go back and do that. Right. So I had just gotten to the point where I was going to go to a 10th Planet affiliate right by me. And again, you mentioned Naga. Yes. I grew up a fan of pro wrestling, right? A kid of the 80s. So I was just like, I wanted to be a professional wrestler, right? I wanted to have a gold belt that signified I was the best at grappling.
Yeah.
You know, so I want my purple belt for no other reason than to get a belt
Right.
at Naga, to compete for a belt at Naga. Yeah, medals are cool, but I didn't want to be an Olympic athlete. Yeah, swords are cool, but I didn't want to be that samurai. Like, that was when I saw the history book of the incense and the helmets of the samurai soldiers, and to have, like, if they cut their head off, then they would have a sweet smell. I was like, I'm out. I'm totally out. Whatever. But again, that belt is very enticing in Naga, and you can only compete for a belt in the National Grappling Association, North American Grappling Association title if you're a purple belt. So that's why I want mine. So your first
in the no-gi or either.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think I hadn't been checking that out. I keep forgetting, and I go back. When can I get a belt? Oh, I'm not ready yet. Maybe I need to train no-gi, because my eyes is always on the prize. So I agree, and I think it's good. I think sometimes we may start off with one particular focal point in mind, not really knowing where our journey is going to take us, and it develops into something different. Then you realize, this is way more than what I ever focused on then. I thought it was just going to be this, but I never knew it was going to actually expose me to this and this and this and this. So, it's all good. It's a good thing,
So, as somebody who wants to compete in Naga myself, and I never, in any of my dalliances in Jiu Jitsu, have never competed, right? Covered competitions many a times, but haven't competed myself. So what was that first competition at Naga like for you?
I was nervous. I'm always nervous about something new, and so all I remember is I just wanted my coach's blessing that, am I ready? Do you think that I'm ready? She definitely had faith in me. She still has faith in me, and even when I lose everything under the sun, she still has faith in me. But she, made me believe in myself, gave me a few choice words and say, go in there and do what you do. And I did it. And I think for the first part, when I checked it out, the environment, they didn't really have anybody in my particular age, because I was always older. I started off a master. I started jiu-jitsu at 39,
Wow.
And I probably just told my age, but that's okay.
Whoa.
But
you're not 39 now? What?
Yes, I'm 39 now still.
Yeah, exactly.
Time stands still for me. So there you go. But anyhow, the ladies were way younger, and they were bigger. They were taller. They probably had a few more pounds than me, and I think that worried me, and I think she knew that worried me. So I looked at my opponents, and I really got intimidated immediately. And I think I had about maybe 3 matches. I did gi and no gi. I went balls to the wall. That's what I tend to do sometimes. I don't know, but I went balls to the wall. I did gi and no gi first competition. Hadn't really trained no gi at all, I don't think, but it was there. You got a discount. I'm like, might as well do it, So I remember her specifically looking at me, look at them. And I think she felt my nerves, and she's like, okay, don't look at them. Don't worry about size. Don't worry about, you got this. So needless to say, I think I had maybe 3 fights or whatever, but I ended up winning gold in my very first competition in the gi. But I ended up winning bronze in the no gi. So I think I won maybe a fight or so in the no gi, but I was very happy that day. So she coached the mess out of me and yelled at me, and I think I was more nervous, so my adrenaline was kicking in. So there's really no telling what I did to those girls, because I was just as scared of them, as they were of me. But it happened. I won gold, and I'm thankful for that. And that was my very first competition was a really good experience. So.
Oh my gosh. People toil, months and months, if not years and years, to, even place, right? Yeah. You did both of the grappling kind of, acumen, right? You gi and no gi, right? And you medaled in both, one being a gold. You essentially hit the promised land in your very first competition. Jeez, that's bonkers. That's bonkers.
But, the important thing is that, it's good to have a support structure. I had the support structure. My daughter was there. I had the best coach ever. She was there. And that's important. It's important. You can do things and you can get to that goal, when you have love and support behind you than when you're all alone, especially for that very first one. I didn't know anything. And when I go back and look at it now, I cringe as to all the mistakes I made. But however, we were all beginners. So I'm thankful for that. So can't take all the credit, but thanks.
Absolutely. I mean, but even still, that is a feat that shouldn't go like, it's not an underwhelming feat in the slightest bit. My goodness, that's incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And speaking about appreciation, Gary Brown says hello to some of the coolest people I know.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah, man. I hope
putting this together for me. Thanks, Gary.
Absolutely. Gary Brown is the man, and I hope you're healing well, good sir. And it's a Miss Williams world, and we are all just living it. And I do concur.
In my dreams, right?
I don't know, because you've put a lot of things into action, right? And it's one thing to kind of dream it, right? And that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with dreams, and especially in a year that we have had previously. Mm-hmm. I mean, dreaming is so important, but equally, if not more so important, is the tack to actually put it into action.
Right. This is true. They're both, are two separate entities, but they both work very well together. So there you have it.
And I mean, where does this come from? That's what I want to know, because again, like for anybody that is watching and listening to this, I almost want to harness the energy that is Lakeshia Williams and go like, I need some of that. And maybe twice on Sunday. I mean, that's it. But where does this kind of resolve come from?
Only thing I can say, Adam, honestly, is that it's just how I've built, and even my mom can probably answer this better than myself since she's watched me as a kid. But any time that was something that I wanted, I never hesitated to go after it. And that's one of the things that I that everybody knows about me. I've never let, and I've probably quoted it, I've never let my sex, my race, my age or any type of disadvantage, to keep me from pursuing whatever it is I wanted to pursue. Even if I didn't fit in, I didn't care. I wanted the same thing the rest of the people wanted. I mean, okay, I may look like an oddball, but I mean, I'm about to go at it right beside the rest of you, and I've just never been, I just never really cared, about all the other things. I was just always pinpoint focused on one, prize that may have been dangling at that time. And then I went for it, and if I go that hard for it, I must be passionate about whether it's my career, whether it's my, talent. I mean, not talent, but whether it's like, a choice of something that I want to do or a hobby or whatever it may be. And I think also, I mean, I didn't have the easiest of life. I mean, I didn't have a silver spoon, my family wasn't well to do. My mom worked her butt off. My whole family worked their butt off, obviously, to really provide me with whatever resources I needed at the time when I was going through PA school. My mom worked to help me with whatever I needed to, help with, whether it was babysitting. My aunt and my mom tag teamed that, so they gave, and I've always had to, you hear people say, I've had to fight or work or struggle for everything I did, everything I've achieved. And I have. Nothing came easy. I mean, absolute nothing came easy. And as a matter of fact, I felt like everything I've achieved, there's always multiple stumbling blocks that I've had to get over. And I think over a period of time, you develop that mental strength. When you realize that you want to keep going, you realize, okay, either you get over whatever that hump that is. If you don't have the resources, you better find them from somewhere. Because, I mean, nobody's going to give them to you if they ain't got them, and you just keep moving. And, I'm a very spiritual person. I grew up, in the Bible. A lot of my God gave me strength and the ability and the faith to get through all of this as well, So, I mean, because if you think about it, I look at the things that I do as something that if you want it bad enough, somebody who really wants it, they go get it. Now, a lot of people look at it as something miraculous or some superhuman strength or whatever. It's not superhuman, but there is a spiritual strength behind it as well. So, I mean, so I had help, I had help with that. And we all have to dig in deep and find that last bit of strength to just get us over that next hump to be able to move to the next. And Lord knows there was tons of humps I've had to go over. So I feel like I couldn't have done that alone. I feel like it was the grace of God and his strength that really enabled me to do that. And I say that to the core of my soul, and I believe it, but that's it, that's the secret, which is not a secret, so there you have it.
No, absolutely. And it seems like you set your phasers to stun, and that once the phasers were set, that's all you did was stun the whole way through, which and Carol goes just heart emojis.
Yep.
And Mom is you're awesome, darling. Blessings from God, echoing the same sentiment. Right. And you were a perfectionist from a very early age.
I was. My aunt is correct about that, and sometimes to a fault. Sometimes, that may have hindered me from seeing other things because I was so pinpoint on perfecting that one thing. And I'm a Virgo by nature too. I don't really get into a lot of astrology, but I know people have a lot to say about Virgos. We're perfectionists by nature, so I am a true Virgo with that. But, I was always raised when you do something, do it right the first time. I'm still trying to incorporate that into my daughter's life. She's getting there, but that's just how I feel. I mean, I know I'm not perfect. I know that. And I know I will never be perfect. But if you continue to strive to get perfect, then things may actually look okay. It will never be perfect, but you'll get the sense of feeling that it's like where it needs to be. And that's just how I am with life or with goals. I don't stop. Even with, I mentioned to you, previously that I used to be a barber before, getting into cardiac surgery. My clients will sit there to the end of the night until their hair is perfect. So it was good and bad, they didn't complain, but you're not going to, my mama taught me never to half-ass anything. And I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't do Jiu Jitsu. I don't care, whatever it is. If it needs to be fixed, correct it. I'm the first one to be like, okay, tell me how I need to fix this because this is unacceptable. I screwed that up. How can I fix this? That's just the way I am.
No, absolutely. And another bit of insight, your mother gave you the foundation for the love of God at an early age as well. Absolutely. And Tony Dudley over on YouTube sending love.
Love you too, Uncle. We can't leave him out.
Not at all. Now, I mean, like you said, because to me, I would think it would be a delicate, kind of juggling of sorts, right? A semblance of a personal life, your career pursuits, your daughter's life, her, where she's kind of basically, staking claim in her life. And then you also find jiu-jitsu, right? So, I mean, where do you find the balance? Because again, like before last year, right? Most people were like, oh, I need money or I need time and whatever. And I think if you weren't in a very precarious position, whether it be financially, occupationally, or health-wise, you got all of those, right? You got a little bit of money, you got a lot of time, right? And so if you didn't accomplish whatever you said, oh, maybe, whatever you spoke into the atmosphere, and you didn't make it real, as the Jets song says,
right?
Then it was like that. But again, you have to do a delicate balance. There was a time even in this podcast, right, where I was just like, man, am I neglecting my wife and kids and everything like that? They're watching a movie in the other room. Should I be there? But, and it's just like, so how did you kind of cope with the balance? And obviously this is something that is ongoing. It's just nothing that we truly master. But I mean, as we kind of go into this new year, this first part of the new year, into this new season, a lot of people are looking at ways to be able to kind of maintain things. So if you were to kind of speak life into their existence, like what would you say would be like what you've learned from the juggling aspect and what you did to juggle them?
Right. Well, I can honestly say I'm no expert. My juggling is probably a bit sloppy at days, but I still juggle. I'm learning. You know, I'm learning. I'm not the best at. I can organize when I have time because then there's that thing of me wanting to organize in a perfect way. But to me, I think my sense of really, prioritizing what's a priority during that time, the only thing I can say is just pursue the priorities during that time. And then whatever's next in line for priority, pursue that. And then whatever's next, pursue that, and if you have to come back and pick up the slops from not completely prioritizing number one, then you can go back. So it is a juggle. It's a juggle. I'm not perfect at it, but being a single parent, you kind of learn to juggle life. If you want to have any chance at success, let alone a personal life, because that just ceases to exist sometimes, but thankfully, my daughter's at the age to where she's having her own personal life. So she doesn't require so much of me anymore because now she's more so into her own life. So my personal life is easing up a little bit. So the juggling has become a little bit less stressful, because she's doing her own thing. However, I have to make sure she's juggling appropriately as well. But it's not, I mean, I don't really know what to say because I'm not an expert at it. You just have to take one day at a time and then, do what you can do. Now me, there are sacrifices. Now, everyone may not choose to, go off 3 hours of sleep, but I choose to, so if I have to, in order for me to throw that ball on top of the other and catch the other, if I have to do that by going off 2 hours of sleep, that's my choice to do that, knowing I can probably recover 2 days from now. So that's just how I do things. I may do things different than other people, but I'm no stranger to sacrifice. I'm no stranger to a cush and comfy situation. I mean, I can be uncomfortable temporarily if it means me getting to the next step and getting whatever prize I need to get during that time. Because you're speaking like, when I was pursuing my undergrad, my daughter was still in elementary school. I had a couple of puppies and I had papers that needed to be due, so, and I still had, school projects to help with. I still had her homework to help with. I still had to show up for lunch for her, so I'm used to like, okay, you can't sleep tonight. You have to stay up all night because you have to do this, you have to do that. So I've been doing that for a while, so it doesn't really bother me as much. So, but like I said, that's just how I juggle. Everybody juggles in a different way. If I was better at organizing, then maybe so, but I'm still learning. I'm still learning. I just do what I got to do, that's required for that particular time. So.
No, I agree. And again, it's something that is an ongoing thing. I don't think you'll ever be perfect at it, but I use the mirror effect, right? Where if I can walk past a mirror and be okay, you'll never be completely fulfilled in what you see. But if you can lay your head down at night after looking at that mirror, I think you're on the right path. I don't know. That might be just me.
I hope so. I hope so. Maybe one day, wander across something, maybe a black belt or so, and be like, okay, I guess I did the right thing. So there it is.
And it will be earned. It will be earned. And love drawing, making music, God-given talents.
You can tell that's mother, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All out.
Talk about Hark of Angels. I mean, I don't think there's a louder to cry for their children than mothers themselves. I'm just saying.
But I mean, like I said, I'm blessed. I can't complain.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, again, you reached the peak, and this, again, it's bonkers to me, right? First competition, you medal in 2 different kind of acumens, both gi and no gi, right? A golden gi, and then was it a golden gi?
Golden gi and bronze and no gi. Yes.
Yeah. So then, like, what is the next class like? I mean, was there any puffing of the chest or what have you? Where was it again? Set facers to sun. When's the next one? Because I'm going to be like a conquistador, and I'm going to go for a quest for the gold. Like, what was it?
Yeah. So I mean, I probably spent a day or so, lingering on, those accomplishments, but I probably focus more so on things that I didn't do right, because that's just the way that I am, And I mean, people have had to tell me, okay, you have to learn to enjoy the wins, because I'm like, okay, I got this. Okay, this is good, So now what's next? What's next? I mean, that can be good, but you have to learn to enjoy instead of trying to perfect every detail of my life. And I did, and knowing that was possible, I mean, I had so much satisfaction out of that, because that was the goal. And so it really only made me hungry for what was the next level. What do I need to be to get better at approaching blue? So, that's always, as a white belt, we all know that, I'm sure you understand, that's like the ultimate goal at that point, is what's the next level. So yes, of course. I did celebrate. And my teammates and I think we went out and celebrated, especially being my first competition. And then my daughter and I celebrated, so I was very happy, very appreciative, and very happy and thankful. But it was time to grind again, that next weekday, whatever day I returned to class. It's time to grind harder, because now I've set a limit for myself and I can't go down. I've raised the bar. So now I got to do better next time. I got to keep it going. So it's just how it is.
No, absolutely. I agree, which I think this is a perfect question to get to, because AG East Los Perros says, I mean, Keisha, will you ever engage in combat jiu-jitsu? And for those who don't know about combat jiu-jitsu, think about Nogi jiu-jitsu. And this is from the brainchild of one Eddie Bravo, of the major domo of 10 Planet Jiu-Jitsu. But it's essentially Nogi Jiu-Jitsu with open hand slaps to open guard until you get into the ground position. So, and I mean, literally the last thing that I did before LA shut down because of COVID was EBI Combat Jiu-Jitsu at the Orpheum in downtown LA. And I actually, one of the people that competed that night is a Bellator veteran and the very first California Amateur State women's bantamweight champion, Brooke the Bully Mayo, whose bantamweight title is actually in my case. But the slaps, the Orpheum is probably a 70-year-old, kind of theater and what have you. And I had pretty good seats, but at that point I was like in the concourse area, not even. And I could hear, like, it pierced my ears, and I am 52% deaf. Like, 52, I could not hear more than I could hear, but it pierced my eardrums. The slaps her and Elvia Capian kind of put in there. So, would you be interested in competing in combat jiu-jitsu?
It's one thing when you're gloved and you're striking, and I've actually entertained the idea of MMA, but my mom put like a quick halt to that, I don't know. But slapping is another thing, because where I come from, you just don't slap me. That may like trigger some other type of emotions that's dug deep within that I may not want to release. So I don't know. I have to look into that. I'll say for now. You kept saying the word slap and slap, and I'm just really thinking, I don't know how I feel if somebody just outright, if they mount me and then slap me, that may do some other things. So I have to think about that.
Yeah. Mom's in no slapping 100%. And now, you are not, you're the whole world.
So that goes to show that the how I was raised. With the slapping, but the thing of it is, now it's different. Like if you're gloved and there's a boxing, it's just a different feel. But that's a whole different beast of slapping. And then when you're talking about how loud they are, it can't feel nice. It can't feel nice. So I've honestly, I've never even heard of that before. So thank you for like introducing me to that. It's interesting to look into. I doubt I'll entertain that too much, but I'm definitely curious to see how some of those matches go.
Yeah,
remember what's on my priority list right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, like I said, I as a an adult male, I let an audible yelp. I went to a soprano level of octave in terms of my reaction.
Did you engage in that? Did you do one of those matches?
No, not. And first off, I mean, again, Combat Jiu-Jitsu is on UFC Fight Pass. They're not going to put my rotund posterior, as a white belt, no matter how big this podcast goes. Eddie Bravo is not putting me on UFC Fight Pass, So,
and this is bare hand combat, right? Bare hand.
So again, everything that you know about Nogi Jiu-Jitsu, but again, you could, as you're in standing position, you could slap to open guard, whatever, and then up until I think it's like quarter half guard is like where you stop. But like you could essentially, because theoretically speaking, right? If you're looking at the kind of genesis of like MMA, right? You've got, your strikers, karate, Muay Thai, boxing, what have you. You've got your grapplers, your wrestlers, right? And then when you get to the ground, you've got judo, catch wrestling, sambo. There's like an Eastern Asian art of grappling as well that you can kind of get to. So Eddie Bravo kind of wanted this to be like the evolution, right? For because he felt like in situations of IBJJF, the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and other kind of notable, jiu-jitsu, competitions, it's all about points, right? There are strategies for points and everything. So he's just like, no points, no stalling. And the other thing too is like, I think it's like 5-minute rounds and what have you. And you do 2, and if not, then you basically do like what they call EBI overtime, where you start, back mount and what have you, and try to slap your way out of that. And even that is kind of.
I'm just trying to do that. I mean, because it's like I'll
send you links
as equivalent to spitting. It's like when you slap somebody, you take their dignity away, and it's just something demoralizing about being slapped. I mean, I'd rather be punched, elbow, roundhouse kick, whatever, than slapped.
Yes. And don't make me go to jail, says Carol. Now, okay. So, and one thing that I did leave out, right? So there's no slaps to the face, right? But anything below the neck. So basically, it's slapping to advance. If somebody is doing like a lay and pray type, methodology in terms of how they're executing their game plan, well, getting slapped in your ribs, that'll free that up 100%.
I'm sure. It sounds like that hurts. That's a whole new level there, Adam. I don't know.
Yeah. So again, as of now, we're not doing that. Yes. Agreed. I'm gonna heed to mom. Let's segue. Let's segue. No, but if I could ask, right? Obviously, in your occupation in the cardio fields, right? And you have, I would say like sorely patients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like the anxiety one goes through. Mm-hmm. Going into jiu-jitsu competition.
Yes.
What is worse?
Well, just to be, if I may be completely honest, I think to me going into competition is worse because it's me going into the line of jeopardy. I know it may sound a little selfish, but it's a reality. Now, as far as my patients, yes, I feel for them. I feel for them who's had the heart attack. I feel for them who has to go under the knife, but it's them that's going under the knife. It's not me, but it's me walking out there on the mats when there's like maybe a 300-pound superweight, it's won massive titles and I have to go and face that female, so it's just different when it's you. I don't care how much you can relate, how empathic you are. When it's you, it's a whole different ball game there. So yes, it's worse as far as me competing than, because I feel more, needless to say, I feel more confident about my career than I do my jiu-jitsu. I've been doing my career longer. So obviously there you go, so.
That's fair. And AG Los Perros says, I imagine you releasing your inner beast and winning. So there's a vote of confidence there. And yes, I guess Aunt Carol saw my extensive John Mayer collection and is saying, Sissy, absolutely. And John Mayer is our generation's Eric Clapton. So there you go. I'm just saying. No. Oh yeah, and I'm wearing a Phil Collins shirt. No. So I'm just saying.
I think she was responding to my mother, but they call each other Sissy. So
Okay, well, fair enough. And mom says stop entertaining her because she just might try it.
Yeah.
Okay, I will. Again, that's like third warning. That's strike 3 with mom. So I'm not. Again, that's your version 2. That's version 1. So again, Miss Lisa, I apologize. But I hopefully it's not like that Timbaland One Republic song. It's too late to apologize. It's too late. Hopefully it's not there, but I don't know. I don't know. You'll let me know for sure. So I mean, obviously, Keisha. I mean, an astounding career in your cardio field as well as your jiu-jitsu prowess in your personal life. There has been so many people, and a lot of people have chimed in the comments, but there have been a lot of people. You were talking about the strong foundation and the support system that you have. So I think it's as good a time as any to let's get some shout outs out of the way, both professionally, athletically and personally.
Yes. Okay. Well, first I want to give a shout out to God because, like I said, He's my all, my strength. My mother for raising me. Elisa Heron Dudley. She's always wanting to be there for me, and I really appreciate that even to this day. And my aunt, she's like the backbone, as well as on my father's side. So she's like my father and mother at the same time. And my uncle and my aunt and my whole family, my daughter Lakeshia, and any other family members that I may have forgotten about, I apologize, but those are like the main core, of my group that daily and consistently, encourage me and, keep me going. As far as jiu-jitsu, Roberto Travin is my main coach. Shout out to Professor Master Roberto Travin. He's always been behind me. I'm very proud and honored to represent him and represent his team. My main coach and personal trainer, Denise Houle, I started with her. I train with her twice a week virtually. She moved away to Florida, but we still keep in contact. She still shows up at all of my competitions. I speak with her regularly, weekly. And she still encouraged me to keep going, and also Nicole Houle, her spouse, I appreciate they're my family. They're all my family, and all of my teammates, that's there to encourage me as well. As far as my professional career, I'm thankful to work with a fabulous group of women. Some of them are new. Our team is transitioning, but we have, they start off with Alyssa Broadwater, and we have Amber Mayheck, we have Serena Fry, we have Sung Tu Win, and we have our newest member, Amanda. And then we also have Emily Harris. We call ourselves the CTS Boss Babes, but I want to give a special shout out to them. And then also, Brian is also my lead, and then also Jason Washington and Maduri. But really a special shout out to them because, I've been working in this career for 6 years, but, this is really the first team that has, not only supported me as far as my career, but they've also really supported me and expressed their excitement and, and engagement with jiu-jitsu. They hype me up every day. They tell me I can do it. When I express my concern about my competitions, they're always like, how did your competition go? Or we're thinking about you. And they support me on social media, So, we're like a family. We're like a family. So I call us the CTS Boss Babes because they are boss babes, and I feel whole with them. I feel very comfortable in the fact that I'm not boring them with my, quote unquote, tough fight girl stories. We can go and save lives, but at the same time, they'll sit up there and they'll watch my matches with me and they express interest. So I appreciate that, and a lot of people take that for granted, but I don't, because it means something when people feel like what you do is important or make you feel important, and right now, I'm still nervous. Hours almost lapsed. I'm still nervous. So I'm probably having a brain fart and forgetting some names. If I am, I apologize. And shout out to Gary Brown for making this all possible and introducing me to you. And then, like I said, other teammates as well. If I forgot anybody, I really apologize. But these are the people that has played the biggest role for the longest periods of time in my life. And I really want to express my gratitude to them for that. So there you go.
No, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. And usually when people gotta go brain farty, and again, it happens even to me, as somebody who grew up with a stutter and what have you, I'll mumble and marble mouth my words all the time. But I usually go, gyms, companies, yeah, and then family members, like, and then you're good. Yeah, if you do an all encompassing, you're like, no, I mentioned you. Like, come on, you didn't know that was you. Come on.
And then you forget names, because I swore I couldn't think of not one person's name on the team. I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. But came to me,
Yeah. They know who they are. They should know who they are. And if not,
know who you are, and just know that I love all of you. So
absolutely. And then and Carol, given context, she was listening to laughing at the sister's comments, and yes, she loves Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Right on, Aunt Carol. I'm just saying. But Keisha, it has been an honor and privilege to have you on, and we love you, Mr. Woods. You're so kind, so kind. I love you too.
Follow Adam Woods. Follow According to Woods.
I absolutely appreciate that, and again, we thank you guys for joining us here, and all the love and happiness. What is it? Champagne wishes and caviar dreams. That's the Robin Leach deal. So I'm going to go ahead and quote that. But if you guys haven't already done so, I warmly encourage you to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on YouTube, Facebook, and yes, Twitch. I mean, Keisha, you're subscribed, right?
I am. And then also I have to sneak in. I just missed Kirsten.
Oh, okay. Kirsten.
Feel bad, she's like my side partner there. So, but anyhow, yes, I'm sorry, Kirsten. I haven't forgot about you either. But yes, I am a subscriber, Facebook and Instagram. So
yes, and again, where can people find you on social media?
So they can find me on Instagram here, right at this handle here, this below the screen, and also on Facebook. It's under my name, Lakeshia.Williams. Maybe hard to find me because, sometimes I do have patient interaction, and I kind of have to keep that balance between, my patients wanting to reach out and follow, and then also, so forth. So either way, if you're interested, just reach out. I'll be glad to add you either way. So I'm still working the other social medias. I'm old. My daughter's keeping me in the loop on what's cool. I'm new to Instagram, so bear with me, but there you have it.
I tripped on my chap snap, and and I made a TikTok on the ground. Like it wasn't pretty. So I'm right there with you.
I don't even have either of those yet. I watch TikTok, but I'm still learning to navigate. So.
Yeah. I feel like a Japanese person watching the first Pokemon. Too many flashing lights, and I kind of do that thing. So it's not pretty. It's what I'm saying. Unceremonious electric slide. But yes, and Carol says yes, follow Adam Woods, because I am. I appreciate that, Aunt Carol, and great chatting you too. I appreciate you, AG y Los Perros, and I appreciate you guys for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you don't just take my word for it, or Keisha, guess what? Subscribe to According to Woods. But here's Zeta Zhang to help